Okay. So today I'm going to give an overview of my lectures on computational neuroscience. So basically we want to use mathematical method and computational method to understand how the brain works and try to use that knowledge to do something useful. So this lecture, I'm going to give you first a very quick review of some features of the brain, and then give you some examples of some progress in the computational study of the brain, and give you some flavor of what I'm going to talk about in my lectures in March. All right. So first of all, it's very hard to figure out that actually brain is important to you. Right? In the future, if you go back to, if you always go back to Aristotle, 2,000 years ago, Aristotle had no idea the brain is actually important for the brain cognitive function. He thought the brain is more like a radiator for the heat. It's actually not that trivial because people still use words like say, follow your heart, my heart feels pain, or whatever. How can I feel anything if it's just a pump? So it's not that trivial. So even in the year like 2000, this is the early 16th century. So people, I have to. So people know the brain is important. Usually, due to the damage to the brain, usually have a specific deficit. They know that brain is actually important. But even as late as 16th century, this is a theory of the brain. It's like that. It's not that the brain. The important thing of the brain is a vesicle. That's like a hollow part in the brain filled with fluid. It's not just maybe some animal spirit, maybe it's more likely to be there rather than in the brain tissue, which looks more discrete and natural. So it's not that easy to see what the function of the brain, even that's so late. Of course, we know the vesicle is not important for the cognitive function, but it can give you a headache if there's a lot of pressure inside. So this is from Descartes. Descartes has a dualist view of the brain, right? So even though he said this is ridiculous, but lots of people still have views about the relationship between the mental and the neural in a very similar way. So he tried to, think about the brain as a hydraulic machine in his time. That's probably the most sophisticated machinery in his time. Today we use like the metaphor for the brain is more like a computer. It's not like reflect like this. For example, is this somehow the message comes through a tube inside the nerve because there's something like hydraulics and it goes through the brain. Maybe it's some kind of spirit. I don't know what's exactly, but it goes through into the brain. And this diagram it shows that the brain has very interesting. It's not just a machine. People realize that often. You have the other side. It's different from any machine we know. The other side is you have internal experience. So Descartes saw that, for example, there's something like a visual image that projects to the back of the eye upside down. He already knew about that, right? But someone has been watching like a TV projected upside down, but someone has been watching that TV. Right? He saw this maybe a soul concept or some mental internal thing sitting somewhere. So there's maybe tiny body because it's a central location in the brain. And this soul is more like something sit in the brain. The brain is more like a machine, but you need something to control the machine, steer the machine around. Right? Sit here, and then eventually you have your, the input that you think about today. This is like input to the brain, something happening, and output. You control some muscle to do something. That's output. Of course, the problem with this view is that this interface is a problem. If you have something mental that you can experience internally, you can describe with words, it has to have a causal link to that machine. Right? Just like you have a steering wheel, you have to have a hand, have a causally change the steer to the left or to the right. Right? And that link, or the lack of that link, is a problem for this kind of view. So instead of sort of speculating like this, take a closer look at the brain. What the brain actually is made of, what are the key features of the brain? Of course, brain has, if you take a brain, this is a typical, look at the brain, that's very convoluted. So pretty much everything you see is just one one part of the brain called the neocortex or cerebral cortex. All this convoluted thing, it's a two separate sheets, on the left and the right, and they're convoluted to save space. For humans, I think about 80% of the volume of the brain is just made of this neocortex. Everything else is the other 20%. So of course, we don't have the largest brain. If you compare, with other animals like whales, some large whales, some elephants, have bigger brain than us. There are also small brain. This is for the mammal. I think this is the very smallest brain in the shrew. So compared with the human finger, it's much smaller. Of course, the brain size and the body size actually they're related. Of course, have a bigger animal, we have a bigger brain, right? So here, this straight line doesn't mean this relationship is proportional. It's a power law. So it's a log law. So as the body size increases, the brain size increases, but at a slower speed. Right? There's some power, so that's not much. So that's how everybody knows about it. If you want to have a giant show on the screen, how do you make people feel like a giant? You make the head very smaller to the body. It's very big. And also this error is very big coming with the regression line, because there are a lot of variables. For example, from this pig to this pig, it's a 10 times difference. So the error is very big. But there is a rough relationship. Bigger animal can have a bigger brain. All right, so this plot shows different parts of the brain. Maybe you haven't learned on different parts. It really doesn't matter. So this shows that this log to log plot again. There's a different parts of the brain. That's a neocortex, that convoluted thing you see, the sheets, that's a big part. And the different other parts, the striatum, the basal ganglia, this is the thalamus, and the other, the cerebellum, and other stuff. So but this plot, they shifted the intersects, otherwise the curve will overlap. So what it shows that as the brain size increases, all part of the brain become bigger. It's not proportional. Sometimes the slope is slightly different. Maybe the neocortex increases slightly fast. So that is the brain is really, they have the internal, large internal structure. They're linked to each other. It's not just say you can make one part big, other part shrink, other parts, not like that. Everything increases, but we get at different rates. This is all kind of different animals. There's several order of difference. Let's talk a little bit more about neocortex. Or I want to talk about some interesting features. I'm sure you have seen lots of pictures like this. This is drawing by Cajal. It's a very brilliant Spanish neuroanatomist. So in the neocortex, 80% of the neurons are made of one-type cells. The terminal cell. That's the most important. It's the vast majority of the neocortex. In the human brain, 80% of the brain is made of this neocortex. The neocortex, 80% is made of a single kind of cell, terminal cell. So this is the building block of the brain, right? If you look at the brain and see what's going on, this is the building block. So what is the neuron? What's the function of the neuron? The neuron handles information. It's different from like a muscle. It translates electric energy, chemical energy. They convert that into mechanical contraction. Now this is the input to a neuron is information. The output is still information. So if I show you a cell like this, what is the input? What's the output? You think about information, about the input, the output. Right? The inputs to the cell are those tree-like structure. That's called the dendrites. Right? They have a list of the dendrite and clock, also dendrite and cell body. These are all the inputs to the cell. So other neurons, they have a synapse, connection to the neuron. They send signal to the neuron, right? So what's the output? So the beauty is that this neuron has many inputs. You see there are a lot of tree-like structure. It's trying to increase the surface area to contact with many other neurons, with tens of cells and other neurons. Typically, okay? There's only one output. There's a single output that they can run. So this output is right here. So this axon. Also the cell body, this single thing goes out, and there are a lot of bifurcation of branches. So basically, the output is sent out to many different places, but it's copies of the same signal in exactly the shape. Just signal output, and then different copies send out to different locations. Right. So one thing peculiar about structure, you look at structure of the brain, you realize there's something very special about the brain. I think the one thing is that the geometry of the cell, right? So this is also a half drawing of a mental cat, I believe. So you look at the cell, you send out that output, the axon. The axon can go all the way to the other side of the brain and then have bifurcation in other places. So when you talk about, a neuron is a specialized cell, you say how big is a cell? Maybe the biggest cell like egg is the biggest cell, but typically you cannot see a cell, very small, right? So the neuron is also small in other dimensions. So how thick is the dendritic tree is usually in the microns, thousands of the millimeters in that order of magnitude. But in one dimension, the length is very long. It's the same size as the edge of the brain. So from one side goes to the other side. That's a single cell. So that's already extraordinary. And that shows that the brain cells is able to communicate with other neurons a long distance. So it's different from other bodies. So if you look at other tissues, usually the cell is close to each other. They affect each other a lot. Right? So the farther away, it has weak weakness. The brain is different. It can affect something very far away. Of course, you're more likely to hit other neurons nearby, but they have a specific connection to something very far away. It's more like in the human, you understand that. For example, you always call your mom, right? Even your mom is very far away. You just specifically only target that individual. Among all 6 billion people in the world. So you can go a long distance and it can be very specific. And that's the structure that's very different from everything else in your body. Right? So you look at the white matter. So you take out the brain cortex and remove some of the cortex and you can see the connection. All the white fibers, all the bundles are axon, long distance connection of neurons. So you see all the white matter. You see all those fibers there, right? The white matter, so the green matter, the yellow thing outside, that's all the cell bodies or all the vectors. So that's thalamus, that's the database, that's the subcortical area. That controls information to the cortex and lead into it. Right? Yeah, that's someone's brain. The others have all removed. So you see that also shows how long a single cell can be, a neuron can be. So this is an arm, right? There's a nerve in the arm. So you control the muscle on your fingers. There's a motor neuron sending a signal. So but where is the cell body of that motor neuron? The cell body is in the spinal cord right here. So that cell sends the axon and go all the way to your fingers. Okay. So that's you see how long a cell can be, right? Very, very long in one dimension. So I'll show you one example that shows all the brain's complicated structure. We all know about it. We also it has some rules and very simple. I'll give you just one example. So this is the cortical, the thickness of the cortex. The small animal can be thinner, right? Animal can be thicker, a little bit. Only a few times, not like 1,000 times. Like brain weights, the thickness a little bit, a few times. But one thing is that these things, the cortex is more like, people argue that it's more like a module, that the brain figure out a module. In a sense, one thing that supports that view is that the number of cells under a unit surface area of the cortex is about 6, about 100,000 cells per square millimeter. So if it's a mouse, if it's a human, it's thicker, thinner, but the number of cells are the same. In humans, the cell body is bigger because you need to support axon that go a long distance. But the total number of cells under that surface area is about the same. So that way, maybe brain figure out a trick to do some competition with this kind of cortical modules, and you bigger brain, you add more of this stuff there to be connected to the rest of the brain. So of course there's an anomaly that the primates and humans, this visual cortex, the V1, the primate, they're special, that they're the layer 4, the U2 layer, has many small granular cells. They double, more than double the amount of cells. Those cells, the local cells, they don't go outside. For the primitive cell, most of them send axon out to go a long distance. So this is just local animal model. Maybe we are visual animal primates. it's a hard working area in the brain, somehow we have this kind of a structure. All right. So because of this uniformity, so cortex, you have this kind of a scaling power. This is like the example. This is you see there's several other magnitudes. This is what the power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other, 6 other, several other magnitudes. So this is the white matter volume. This is the gray matter volume. You see they grow with each other, right? So if you think of the gray matter, there are little modules that same number of cells per area. But if you imagine you have a bigger brain, you add more of the module, make the brain more powerful. But each module should have the same kind of number of wires to go out. You have to go out somewhere. But if a bigger brain, you have more of the module, the brain bigger, the wire has to go a longer distance. It turns out the wires actually increase. So this slope doesn't mean proportional, that's against some power. It's power to the power, the white matter is proportional, the green matter to the 4/3 of power. It's something bigger than 1. That means the wiring has to increase faster. So that's long axon, you need a lot of wires. For in the human brain, about like 40% of your neocortex is kind of wires. So if you compare this with the human made machines, like for example, for a typical car, you have a lot of wire to control all the motor, actuator. So if you take all the copper wire, connect them together, how long would that be? I heard people say it's about a typical family car is about over 100 feet. Over 100 feet of wires. For a luxury car, it would be a mile of wires. For a bigger machine like a Boeing jet, you have over 100 miles of wires very long. So how long is a wire in the human brain? Well, it includes all the axons, all the dendritic, so you put it all together. Longer than you go to California. It's actually the distance we can go from the Earth to the Moon and back. You still have some wire to spare. It's much longer. So this also one thing. Is the communications through this wiring. That's the look at that. And anatomy, I would say this is the #1 striking feature of the system. Yeah, this is shows more morphology difference of this is the different shape of the neuron in the brain. And then you can like this one is in the computing cell in the cerebellum. That's important for movement, coordination, and so on. There's always a single output. And then even though why the tree is actually different, you have some idea. I can talk about it all the time, but even though they look very different, there is something in common in all these neurons that people have to figure out the signal mechanism for different neuron. It's all the same about all neurons. All right. So you look at this neuron. This is a typical neuron. The long axon is not really brain other than like this. It's going to show it very long. So what signal passes through this axon? What's the nature of that signal? So that signal is a set across all of them. If you have a message you send out to a long distance on neuron, there's only one way you can send it. It's by action potential. We learned this, I think, before that after you learn. So it is basically a voltage change across the membrane. It's traveling along the membrane. Right? So it had a stereotypical shape. It's all or none. Either you have it or don't have it. It's not that a half of that. There's only one stable traveling shape of that electrical disturbances. Right? So that fact alone already shows you what kind of signal can you send throughout this axon? Timing, right? Because you have stereotypical pulse, how it looks identical. How can I send information? Only when I send information. So one is like what is for the spike frequency code? How many spikes per second you can send? That's only analog signal. Or the precise timing of the capital spike that can also work. So this mechanism, how this action potential can propagate around nerve, this part has been figured out. It's called Hodgkin-Huxley theory. I think you already learned in SBE I, right? All the communication, all the ion channel, open and closed, and value, all the voltage. And you're going to learn it again from a neural perspective, I think, in the coming weeks. After going to be by, I think, a really useful. So I just wanted to show you that this theory is it's very basic and very solid. So basically, a lot of evidence, so many works around this, and this is correct. That's nothing wrong. Basically correct. There are many, many details and maybe different stuff, but this fundamental theory is basically correct. All right, here just like just a quick exercise. So you typically, when you see the kind of like a popular science video or anything program documentary, you always, I'm sure it shows, you can see something like this. Right? Like a video, there's a neuron like an instructor, there's a bunch of electric signal that's traveling around. You know what's wrong with this picture? There are a lot of things are wrong. If this is a action potential, right? I don't know how many axons, what's it? It's all wrong. Which direction it travels? And another thing is also wrong. So action potential, how big is this? The hot spot, how wide should that be? You can do it in small capital and see it, okay? So this is the time is important. That how big, what's the time scale of the width of the spike? Typically about 1 millisecond, 1,000th of a second. So that's the fundamental clock, how fast you can have the clock. Your cell phone, your computer, the CPU, the clock speed usually how fast, several gigahertz, right? Gigahertz is a billion cycles per second. So in the brain, 1,000 spikes per second, that's upper limit. You cannot be faster than that. Because the width is already about in order of about a millisecond. So usually a few hundred hertz, that's the upper limit for that. Order of magnitude is slower than your computer. So that means the brain actually operates by different principles. Okay. Just about 1 millisecond. So how fast can this thing travel? People would think, oh, what is faster? A car, a sports car, maybe a rocket? So when you're thinking about something that's faster than anything else, it's like how fast can you think? So the conduction signal of the brain is not very that fast. It's about from 1 meter per second to about 100 meters per second. So it's about 10 times faster than you can run. Right? 10 meters per second, that's you can run 100 meters in 10 seconds. That's what the Olympic speed, right? The 9 point something, that's a good record. Better Usain Bolt, right? That's how fast you can run. So this speed is also slower than the speed of sound. Speed of sound is about 300 meters per second. This is a fraction, about a third of the speed of sound. That's the fastest rate this can travel. All right, so let's use the fast speed, 100 meters per second. If you travel for 1 millisecond, that's a width, if you go from the beginning of the spike to the end of the spike, that's 10 centimeters. That's about this distance between the two eyes, right? So it's certainly much bigger than this. This is like a few microns, a few tens of microns. Even if you use a small speed, like say 1 meter per second, that's the slowest travel, you should already get like 1 millimeter, right? About 1 millimeter. That's also much bigger than this. So this is very wrong. Right? For some, you want to draw this, that's hopeless wrong. And many things traveling have no chance of that. This is a much bigger. So the traveling wave, the width can be almost the size of it. It's not this kind of thing. All right, that's just a quick exercise. So for the timing, I already said that even 1,000 hertz is about the fast time you can do it. What's how precise the brain can be ahead of time? Actually, you can do sub a millisecond. So in this case, we all know that if you hear something left of your ear or right of your ear, you know it's left or right, right? Based on the time difference. But how big is that time difference? Based on speed of sound and size of your head, that time delay is less than 1 millisecond. It's half a millisecond, even smaller. And the brain can do that. Can tell, what's left or right. So this is just based on time delay alone, you can do this computation by, the conduction from the lab and the air, you have some synchrony detector. Depending on which one you receive synchronous signal, you can see which side. And this can be lower, smaller than a millisecond. This is comparable, this smaller than the width of the sky. And for other animals like bats, like echolocating bats, or other electric fish, they can be even smaller, microseconds. So that means the brain, if you need to be precise, it can be very precise. The precision can be even smaller than the width of the spot. All right, this is just like a very quick view. So what's the right way to think about the brain? So based on today's knowledge, how should we think about the principle of the brain that operates? This is one theory in the 1940s. It's a Macaulay piece model. The sigma neuron at the threshold of gene limit. You have receiving inputs, some excitatory, some inhibitory. Put them together, if you can get more than the threshold, you fire some action potential to go to the next neuron, right? So this, as you can see, depend how you wire them up. Based on this kind of building block, you should be able to build any logical device. Right? I think you can build a universal training. So here, at that time, they did not know where this information, how information is stored. This is just a logical operation, but how do you store information? At that time, they saw maybe information stored by a bunch of neurons linked like a ring. So you have an activity traveling around that ring to hold that information. But now we know better. It's actually more. It's mostly, but that's one mechanism. But mostly, it's based on strength of synapse. The connection between different neurons. You change that strength or the weight of the connection. So that's a major method of storing information. In 19 years later, people proposed a model for the perceptron. So that's basically you linearly combine a bunch of inputs so that if you have a dendrite, a lot of information, right, a binary different neuron, you combine them with the weights within the synaptic connection strengths, you add them together, and you have some threshold function, or maybe some more gentle form of special function. This looks very simple. And you can do this many in parallel. A bunch of input, you combine them together for output mechanism. You say, oh, this is so simple. So look at linear algebra. Input, some weights, get output. Can you do anything interesting with this? There's one example, maybe surprising than I heard of before. There's a social number. So you basically map, so this is the picture. The picture is basically each pixel is equal to one neuron, right? Activity is one neuron. You have a bunch of pattern of inputs with some weights mapped to some output. Here the map to itself. Right? So in this case, so all these pictures are stored in the connection of that matrix, linear algebra. Okay? So the beauty of this, that's very trivial, right? But if your input is only part of the picture, like half the face, the output can recover the whole thing. If you show only the eye, you recover the whole thing. But just like our memory, you say, oh, who's that guy who played this star in the Mission Impossible? Tom Cruise, right? That's some other information you recover out of the information. And what's important about this is that if you damage a connection, how do I cut the wires, a connection, at 50%, half the damage? The thing still works. That's more like stuff like the brain. That's very simple, just combine different information, many of them, you can already do something very true. I'm going to explain how this works in a future lecture. But this is just 2 layers and a single in the project. But you can add some other thing like the hidden units. That's in the 1980s, with multi-layer perception. So once you add a hidden layer, your system is much more powerful. For a linear system, you cannot separate single and non-linear separable. You can only separate patterns that can be separated by a hyperplane. But if you add a circulator, you're only 3 layers, turns out that's enough to be a universal function of estimating. We know that you can use like a Fourier analysis where I have a bunch of sinusoidal functions. I can linearly combine them to approximate any function to learn that analysis. I can use polynomials, right? Combine them to fit any function as a Taylor expansion. But this is another expansion based on that sigmoid over the gain function of the neuron. You combine them. This is also universal approximation. You can approximate any function to arbitrary precision. Right. But it may not generalize. So we can fit anything. But say that what about I give you some situation you've never seen before? A novelty, a new thing. This one you can fit, but you may not be able to generalize that one. To generalize very well, you need more labor. Unless your original system really can be solved by this layer. So this kind of system be used in learn many things. In the old time, for example, this way we use 3 layers, you can learn like English pronunciation. So if you're a native English speaker, you're lucky, right? Because English is New Latin, right? But you never realize how hard it is to pronounce English words. Some of the words are really very complicated. Based on the spelling alone, not always you can predict how to pronounce it. Unless it's kind of hard. But this system, based on the example, it shows bunch of examples. What's the input? What's the desired output? Then you can learn to pronounce English. That's not extremely well, but it's pretty good. So the importance of this example is that now, the linguists figure out some rules. How do you pronounce English? There are many rules. Right? The rules have exceptions. The exception also has exceptions. I don't think they're really complicated. But in this case, you don't know the rule explicitly. You only know the examples. It can learn the mapping nonetheless. Right? It's learning from examples. And the rules kind of implicit in the connections of your system. So today, of course, you know the deep network, which is very have excellent performance and better than many classical AI algorithms. And the example that, for example, like this system, Alpha, this Google's AlphaGo, that has human level performance better than humans, a big human on this board game, the Go game. So IBM computer, the Blue Brain, 2 decades ago, they're already better than the best human grandmaster in chess. It's just like a brute search. For the Go game, at each stage you have more branching, more branches, so the search is much harder. And they use like neural-inspired algorithms, including the networks and also reinforcement learning, including the Harvard and etc. You combine them and get much better performance. This is better than the human. I think this is probably considered for the popular play board game where information are explicit. This is probably the hardest one for computer to play. So now human is already much worse. It's getting better and better so fast. It's kind of amazing that it can be better. And some of the moves people figure out over a period of over 1,000 years, something actually wrong. Right? They have better strategy than the human experience over 1,000 years. This thing can figure out a new knowledge very fast. By playing with this stuff. So this is actually that they use inspiration from the brain. You may use some feature relatively superficial. That's already got performance at this point. They also use it for automatic writing. I think the neural network is also one method people use to recognize different values. So I'm going to talk about the basic theory underlying this kind of method. All right, I'm going to switch gear, give you another example. It's also very amazing. I thought, if you've never heard of this, it doesn't feel like a brain, but it is a brain. The brain works in a way we never imagined several decades ago. So I think a few years ago, there was a popular press. We discovered, we got a Nobel Prize for discovering some inner GPS system in the brain. GPS for navigation and localization. So let me see what they actually discovered. So they're typically going like to record from an area in the hippocampus in the brain or animal moving around. You can track its location and direction of habit. So we record what's the hippocampus. So this is a view of the this is a macaque monkey's brain. It's also called the rhesus monkey. So these different boxes here are different areas in the neocortex. All the convoluted part and the different parts over there. So this is from the eye, right, the visual area. You go all the way to V1, V2, V4, many different areas. You go up, you have hair structure. You cannot go, what's the highest level? You cannot go further than hippocampus. Right? Not say you go to a pineal gland, there is some commander-in-chief at the top. It's not like that. Brain doesn't work that way. It works in a different way. What I'm not practicing, I'm sorry. So this is the hippocampus. Right? And the information can go down. So this is a motor system where that's output go out. So if you pour cells from hippocampus, what is the cell? Okay, first of all, you need to take out the hippocampus. The people does not lose consciousness. They're still okay, very intelligent. But they have serious memory problems. Just like people in many Hollywood movies, people have trouble remembering that. Exactly like that. They're intelligent, but they cannot remember. So if you record a single cell, it will behave like this. The cell is quiet most of the time, just animal location. The cell is active, fire spikes only when in a particular location. They put the place cells. So this particular cell, if you just, oh, this is easy. Maybe just this location has special smell, or it looks funny, that's whatever. It's something special. It's just a special sensory cell. It's not like that. This place is special for this cell. Let's have many other cells. Each cell like a different location. They cover the entire space. There are several different types of place cell. Very strange. There's a head-directed cell. It's an area closer to the head. This related area. So this is like a compass cell. Look at this tuning curve. This is it looks like a fake, right? This is real data. It's a firing rate of a cell as a function of animal typing direction. There's a preferred direction, right? Here you prefer this. It fires momentarily. You have the basic direction. There's some many other cells like a different preferred compass. So based on activity cell, you know where animal is heading. It's not based on geomagnetic cues. Not geomagnetic cues. It's based on two different methods. All these cells, place cells, based on two different methods. Very sophisticated. One is dead recognition, or integration self-motion. Based on where I'm moving right now, what's my velocity or angular velocity. I do an integration. Integration in the sense of Newton-Leibniz formula. I integrate the velocity to compute the next location in the next direction. This is one thing this is actually used. Another is based on random knowledge, something familiar. I know if I see my, sometimes you actually can be wrong. It makes no sense to be wrong, but I see the familiar animal, I know two different kinds of data. One from yourself, another from the environment. You need both. This is head-directed cell. Another cell is I think that is the key. It's the gray cell. Gray cell in entorhinal cortex. Where entorhinal cortex is, I'm sure that thing again. Here. Is it hippocampus? The thing just next to hippocampus is the gateway to the entorhinal cortex. So that's where you see, to get a place cell, you pass through this stage. This stage, I'm sure what this means. So this is the 4 different cells. Each panel is one cell, all right? So they plot here, for example, let's focus on this one. This is the firing, the action potential spikes of the neuron as a function of the animal's location. The animal is running freely in this room, all right? For place cell, it will be in the right particular location than like other places. But in this case, it's like many different locations. Right? And the place they like, they form this hexagonal triangular plate. So different cells, you see, they may have different scales. There are only a few discrete level of scales. Like some like the spacing is smaller, some spacing is larger. So how is this possible? It looks like a brain to you. It's not, because the space we feel like it's homogeneous. Everywhere, you don't know any direction is special, but this one is special. They have some orientation there. It's oriented in the same way. They're oriented in the same way. So you say, oh, maybe this looks strange, but maybe this rat is sort of a low animal. It's kind of weird. We humans, we are smarter. We don't subject to this. Turns out you put people in a scanner, fMRI. If you do virtual navigation, their activity has this 60-degree symmetry. That strongly suggests you have exactly the same like this too. Right. Also, other animals like bats, monkey, do other stuff. I think this is very strange. But how is it possible? How this thing is possible? How is the brain behaving like this? So here's a very simple explanation. Well, it's not easy to explain. I'm going to explain in my lecture how this works. It's very amazing. Very amazing. So the case is that this is a sort of recurrent network. So basically, you have a neuron. So this is dendrite, the big block here, and this is the cell body. This block this way. So this is a single output of axon. The axon goes out and connects potentially with the activity. This is a recurrent network. So you send out signal, they go back to you to put up there. So those things, like this activity like that, So the first view is that this activity, you may think, oh, this is kind of like a Fourier analysis, two-dimensional or something. Well, so the neuron, the question is why neuron fire at that particular location? Right? They fire the location because the system has an internal stable state, which we call a tractor. The tractor is like a magnet. You have something nearby, it sucks you into that state. So the system has a bunch of internal states. But in the neuron connect with some topology. I cannot explain it very quickly, but I will give you a very rough idea. If you understand that perfect fine, but I'm going to explain it more deeply if you understand the situation. But it's just based on this recurrent network that neuron fire because we see input from its friend. The friends make a bunch of cells similar fire together and try to repeat the other type of cell. So then you get some pattern. This pattern activity is a stable state of the system. Right? You have this. You have for the gray cell, it turns out you have internal topology like a torus. It's like a tile in the environment. You have the same tile, you tile the plane by the same thing. But the tiles, the opposite edge, actually topologically connect with each other. So you go around. For the high direction cell, it turns out that's like a ring. So you have a bunch of cells connect like a ring. You have activity bumps around the ring. You can make some trouble. So that's a problem. So this is sort of a dynamical system way to look at the system. So based on the structure, you can integrate your self-motion and sync concept to do all the computation. Right? That's sort of one story. I thought I'll tell you this a little bit more detail because it's really amazing. This stuff like this is just like, people always start, some philosopher like Kant and a German philosopher so that you have some concept in it, like time and space, born with stuff. You cannot understand things, and you already have some in your head, and it's simply true that there are some rigid, some frames of spatial representation in the how that works exactly, I'm going to give you more explanation after the lecture. All right. So this is dynamic system way of the brain. So another way to look at the brain, dynamic system that you see the activity of different cells, they interact with each other, they change in time. So another way to look at the brain, also very useful, is the statistical way. So a lot of things are uncertain, a lot of noises. Right? You want to find some optimal way to extract information or do some inference. That's another way to look at it. I'll give you a couple of steps. I'm going to give you more explanation after the lecture. So first of all, the brain works not as a universal Turing machine, that's for sure. It is very specialized. So here's one example. So you look at this cloud. This cloud here, it looks like a cloud outside of an airplane, right? You look at this picture. This is another cloud. Look at here, for example. I believe this is Florida, right? Is that Florida? I think this is Florida. So little clouds are bigger than Florida, maybe the size of Texas. If you're careful, maybe you can see the Eastern War somewhere here. So, but the funny thing that this huge cloud, it looks like a cloud. It looks visually very similar to this. Isn't that amazing? Right? This is one example of the fractal structure. So some regularities. So this regularity also reflects, if you analyze the data in the real world, this is like the natural images. If you take a straight line across in the luminance level along a straight line, you can do a Fourier analysis. Right? You have this 1 over f power. I mean, the energy at a low frequency you have more energy at low frequency than at a higher frequency. So that's sort of the natural thing is not random, but it is random in some way, but there's some structure in there. You can capture it by some statistical regularity. You said, okay, that sounds interesting, but does the brain know about this thing? Yeah, this is one example. So if you take these patches from the natural image and do a principal components analysis. So have you learned this principal components analysis? Yeah. You said, oh, this is already sufficient enough. Your brain cannot possibly do something like this in a matrix, in a factor. It's too hard, right? Turns out it can do it very easily. With happy learning, long-term potentiation. You learn very quickly. You do that stuff, you realize this pattern and weights of connection time to learn quickly. This is the first principal component. So if you do principal component, let's just say do principal component, I'm going to show you later how that can be done. Very easy. It's surprisingly easy. So this you do the patches of natural images, you do a principal component analysis. You look like, the first few components look at this kind of oriented edges, more like a V1 orientation tuning cell. You go higher up, you want a checkerboard kind of pattern. You don't see neurons that look like this. So the real neuron in the primary visual cortex, the harder working part of the brain, it's more like this, more like a couple of filters. That's mostly zero, right? It has this excitatory inhibitory band, approach each other. It's basically it is a product of a sinusoidal function, a plane sinusoidal function, and a galaxy. That's called the Gabor filter. Gabor filter and Gabor wavelets people use a lot in visual image analysis. It has some good properties. And the visual cell of the brain actually look like that. And you get this optimal filter. You say, I want to represent a natural image in a physical way. I don't want to lose information. At the same time, I want to save energy. I don't want many cells to fire all the time. I want to save energy as much as possible. Then you get this automatic. So it means it's very different. This simple cell like this is pretty optimized to represent the image you see of life. It's regularly just like what you see in the natural. In that case, the brain is computer more specialized. More specialized. So another example would be like you have a lot of visual illusion, but you have a lot of assumption of what a typical thing looks like. If that assumption, that implicit something is violated, you see some weird stuff. Yeah, this is one last example about this statistical view of the brain. This is population coding. So this one example is that when animals move, this is a reach, you move your hand to a different location. The spikes in the motor cortex will fire at the direction of which you move from the sinusoidal tree. So each neuron, based on activity neuron, say which direction you're moving is very broad, right? Many possibly a very local noise. But if you use many of them, you pull the equation together, you can get a population vector. You can predict which direction I'm going to move. In this case, each little black line is the contribution from each motor neuron. There are maybe 100 of them. So each contributes something directly. Add them all together, this red direction, the red arrow, that's the population vector. Based on activity on different neurons, you can predict which direction to move. So by this method, in this case, they're not very useful, but it can be useful if you read out information from a bunch of neurons. So this population right vector basically represents the weird animal want to move from motor cortex. You can use this signal to drive a robotic arm to move for you. That's how they done. Actually, it works. Yeah? So this is like a way you look at the. But of course, you look at this, you say, oh, this may be there is an error, not exactly correct. That's right. This is not the best method. So what it is the best method? That's the mathematical to base inference. The brain actually can do all of that. You say, oh, this stuff is going to not need the brain. But the brain may do something much more stupid. It's not stupid. We can do all this stuff. So I think that's my overview of cognitive neuroscience. So in summary, it just showed you some features of the brain based on the Bruce anatomy. But you already see some features that have interesting features. And just by borrowing from some basic structure, and you combine information, you have a threshold, you have different layers, a hierarchy, you can already do something like deep learning, network, and already have a best performance analysis. And also have a dynamic review, and statistical review, and the management. All right, that's all for the day. Thank you very much.